Good evening, everyone. I hope y'all can hear me. We are very close to the end of our Rust journey before we jump into smart contract development. So a quick recap on what we did yesterday. Let me share my screen. Okay, let's have a quick recap on what we learned yesterday. So last session, we're learning about collections and data organization. So we started off with vectors. So vectors are lists that can grow. So they work like arrays, but you don't have to specify the size of the array. And so we look at a code like this, where you push items on the vector, and also print out those items on the vectors. And we also looked at on how to access items on the vector. And we saw an example in that, and also how to loop through a list. And we also look into how to use hash maps. So hash maps are a way of storing, it's like a dictionary. You're storing a key and a value. So you use an example with you're storing the name and the score. So this is how we used it. So we declare a variable that is an hash map, and we make sure it's mutable because we're going to insert values. And here we also saw how to print out, how to get that specific value using a key. In this case, we're getting Alice, and then we print out if Alice is indeed in that hash map, then we'll print out Alice and the score. If not, print line not found. We also look at working with text. So this is there's two main of string. There's the slice string, which is fixed, and then the string, which is a global text you can add to it. So we saw an example on how to use it. And we also look at some usable string method that you can also be using, like to trim a text, like this one is string. And you can also there's also a method to turn your string to uppercase to make everything capital letter. And then there's also and that. We also look at file handling, how to create a file and then store values in a file. So I mentioned that you have to import a library. In this case, the standard library FS that deals with the file. Because if you don't import this library, it's not going to work. This code is not going to work. So you import this library from the Rust standard library, and then you can create a file, and then you can write onto that file. You can also read from a file using code similar to this. File fs read to string. This is you're reading the string of the test that was stored in this code txt. And if there's nothing there, it doesn't read, it's not able to read, then there's an error message that will be displayed, unable to read. So this is what we did yesterday. Before we create a very simple project that's going to store books in a hash map, and where we're going to use a key and the ISBN and the value. But before we get into that, is there any questions based on what we did yesterday? All right. So we're going to create a project that does the following. We're going to add books, and then we're going to look up for a book, and then we're going to list all book. So, and then after we're done, I'm going to give you a challenge where you're going to now write a function to sell a book, meaning that you're going to reduce the quantity of the book. And then you're also going to have to write a function to check which books are low. So if a book maybe is 0, then there must be a function that says that there's no books available. Or if there's books that is less than 5, if there's like less than 5 books, then you're going to look at it. So from that session, what you had to understand so far, what we learned this week, is vectors, hash maps, strings, file input, output, and we're building the inventory system. And next week, it's going to be our final week dealing with Rust. We're going to be learning about structs, methods, and organizing code. So now that I spoke a lot, now let's get into the code. So yeah, here's the code. This is where we're going to code. So now we want to add a book, but the instruction is we have to use an hash map. So now let me just go up here. So we're going to see how to declare an hash map. So let's go look at the question. Okay, and then we're also going to use a book struct with details. So before we start, we have to create a struct. So far we've dealt with variables, like this. There can be a string variable, there can be a i32 variable, there's different variables. So variable essentially is like a box that can store the value, and then you can call it whenever. But then with struct now is like a box with a number of related values. For example, you can have an employee struct that has values like the name, the surname, the email address, the phone number. So instead of just using one variable, because a variable you're dealing with one item, if a struct, you can have, it's like a box with different information, and you can also call any of those information. Like for example, when we're dealing with the employee, you can get employee name based on the email that is already stored in the struct. I don't know if that makes sense. We're going to see it in action, and tomorrow we're going to really go deeper and learn more about struct. So since we're dealing with a book, and a book has different details, so a book can have like the author's name, can have the name of the book, the title. It can have maybe information about the book, maybe a short description about the book. So it makes sense for us to use a struct and not just a variable for a book, because we need all these different details. So does it make sense? Okay, so we're going to start by creating a struct. I'm gonna give an example now to create a struct. So here, this just means that we're using derive, but it doesn't really have to be here, but it's just for best practice when we're dealing with struct that's going to be displayed on the print when we're printing out. So we're going to create a struct, and our instructions says that the struct will be, okay, we have a struct for book. Okay, so we can have a title, which is very important. Every book has a title. And we make the title is a string. Which other details we need? Another important detail in a book is the author. We need the author's name. And the author is also going to be string. And since we're dealing with quantity, we also have to have a detail for quantity. So now, a question to you guys: what are we going to type out here? Is quantity a string? Is quantity F64? Is quantity I32? So what do you put here? Because remember, we're dealing with quantity, and maybe you're gonna have to, yes, correct. I32. Oh, we unsigned, yes. So I32. Or we can just for this sake, we're just gonna put a sign one, I32. And or we can put U32, it's still going to work. So now we have a struct, and I want to show you struct in action before we can continue with everything. So we're gonna go to main, and we're gonna start a variable. Let's say let book equal, and then we're gonna use this struct. So in this struct, we're going to enter the title, which is, let's call it Relentless. It's a book title. And then the author, we're gonna call it Steam Grover. And the quantity is going to be, and put a comma. So here we've basically shown how to enter values. There's someone entering, okay. So here we show how to add values on a struct. So now this struct, we declare a book, and we're using a struct that we enter that has all this value. So now when we're going to, so now using this, we can get each values from the book. Like for example, let's say we can print book.title to get Relentless. We can print out book.author to get the author, and then book.quantity to show us the quantity of the book that we have. So I'll just show you how it works. So we're gonna print and let's say we wanna print the quantity. So you know what we put here. So first we have to put that. So let's write quantity and we now book dot quantity. So this will just call the quantity itself. We can also type out book.author, book.title to print out the title itself. So this is just an example on how Strack works. So let's run it and see if there's any error. So let's look down here. Everything looks proper. Okay. So here, this is just a warning. We're not using, we didn't use hash map. That's why we're getting this warning. And yes, and also one thing that we supposed to do is it found str slice string instead of string. So we have to convert it to string. So Rust implicitly sees this as a slice string, but here we use the type string, right? So now we just have to convert this into two strings so that we can avoid the errors. So we do it this way. We just say dot to string. So we use this method dot to string. We also do the same here, dot to string. So this to solve our problem. And yeah, so let's see how it goes. Come on, why is this so slow? Okay, and it's also giving us another warning. We haven't used title and author, which we didn't use because we only called out the quantity. And here you can see it printed out quantity 7. So I don't know if it makes sense, but we'll dive deeper into that tomorrow. So don't worry if for now it doesn't really make sense. So this is just an overview how Strack work. We can also call the quantity, the title, or whatever. But that's not what we are here. We want to create a mini book inventory system. So here, like I showed yesterday, before, since we're using HashMap, we have to import the HashMap library. And that's the first thing that we have to do. And next up, we need to use it. We need to see how we can use it, how we can add the book. Let me remove all this. And now we're just going to add book. So now I'm going to ask you a question. So let's say, okay, let's say book 1 equal. So question to you guys, we want to use a hash map. Yes, I'm recording. It looks like I'm recording. So let me see. Yeah, I'm recording. Yeah, so before we start, I want to ask you a question. What do you write here? I'm gonna give you a hint. We're gonna go up to what we did yesterday. Let's see, hash map. Okay, so we've used this library, and we wanna use this idea into bring the same idea that we used yesterday. Like here, we created mute count. We created a hash map called count, and how do we use this idea? But we want to store books. How do you declare a hash map? The answer is the answer is very clear. So I can't really ask this question because it's there already. So we create the hash map. We're gonna call it collections, not book one. Collections, and we gonna make an hash map of a collection. So this now made us just create a hash map of collection. But then there's something I also want to ask. This collection is going to be basically the inventory of different books. So there's going to be changes, right? There's going to be changes that are going to be happening because we're going to be adding on that inventory. So what is missing here? Since we'll be changing, yes, correct. Thanks, Mohammed. So it has to be mutable. And then the third thing, now we have to insert in the inventory. So let me show you the first example here, how we use hash map. So hash map works this way. In this case, we wanted a hash map that just calls the name and the score. So the name is the key and then the score. So we start like let mute scores equal hash map new, like we did here. And now we want to insert. So here, according to the question, we're inserting two things. We're inserting the key, which is the ISBN. And then we also have to insert the book. So the book is a struct. So we have to insert a book that has all these details. So these are the two things that we're going to insert. So so now I want to insert. So what's the first thing that we do here? What are we going to write in this line? The answer is very clear. Anybody can just space out or type what we're going to be writing here, because we already declared the variable, the hash map collections, but now we want to insert. So we're just going to, the next step will be just like it's shown here, scores.insert Alice and 95. Just like it happens here, we have to do it here as well. So it's going to be collections.insert. Because we want to add books. That's what we want to do. So there's going to be the key and the book itself, the book with details. Let's go down like we're going to. So it's going to be the hash map with the key as the ISBN, and then the value here, the book details. So this I'm just giving you an idea. So this is not going to compile. It's just to show the idea of what we are doing here. So let's go back to hash map. So we need the key. Remember we said that the key is the ISBN, right? So what are we going to put here? You want to insert a book. Okay, book. I see someone collection. So here we're using, okay, you're going somewhere. You're going somewhere. Thank you for your response. Anybody else? Okay, so we're going to insert, so the key of a book. So let's say we have, let's just call this key, let's make up a key here. Since we have in the, we're just gonna hard code a key. So the key can be like 8875. And here now is going to be the second value. And remember, we're using a book struct. So we're just gonna copy this, copy, and then paste it here. So this is a mess. So close the bracket. So let me just do it this way in one line. Okay. So now what we did here is we're just going to add values here, just like we previously showed you. Does it make sense? Collection, insert. Okay, yes, so the book, we're gonna edit the way we edit. Thank you, Rudolph, for your response. But this is the way we're gonna edit, because a book has different values. So the title here will be the title of the book. Just say hello, so to not waste time. The author, write James, and then the quantity, we write 22. And we add a book just like that. Oh, I think the best way to do this was, let's see. Okay, so basically here we have inserted one thing in the collection. Now let's see. Gonna insert another thing. Let's copy this. And we're going to change this number to maybe 465. What can I write here? Orange. And then Alan. And then we insert another book again. We're gonna maybe change it to 36. and call it car, and here any. So here we're just working like exactly the way we did here. It's the same, it's exactly the same concept. Exactly the same concept. We're inserting two values in the hash map. And in the example we did yesterday, it was just two values, nothing fancy. But today we're using a struct. They're using a struct. So it looks complicated, but it's actually not. It's actually not very complicated. You just have to understand the concept of struct and how to insert instruct, which is quite simple the way it is now. So now we've added three values on the collections. Now we're gonna get to looking up for a book, because we have to look up for a book. So we're just gonna call this. We're not creating the best use case. The best way to do this is to create functions. So to have a function to add books, and then you have a function to look up for a book, and then you have a function to list all books. So this is not really the perfect way of doing this. I'm just doing that for you to understand the concept of inserting in data and collection. So here now, we want to look for a book. So we simply gonna say if let sum, and then we're gonna create a new. So now we're gonna get a match in the collection. So collections dot get whatever you want to get here, and then here we're going to print out whatever you want to print out. So this is like what we did yesterday. So we wanna look up for a specific book. So it's similar to this. So we can either do it this way. I can actually even copy this code. We can do this way or the other way, like the way I just showed you. So let's just do it this way. So we in this case, we're not dealing with Alice. We dealing with collections. And then we want to get a specific key. So let's say you want to get the 365 key, and some will say book, some book, whatever. Doesn't matter what I name here. It can be anything. Some book in the collection. If it matches 365, you have to print something here. So I'm gonna ask you, what do I put here? What do I print out? Because let's say I want to print out, if I get collection, I'm looking for this key, and it must print out book name, the book title, the author, and quantity. So what do I do here? Can someone quickly type what I'm gonna put in the print line? Because I want to display the title, the author, and the quantity based on the key. that is here. We're gonna work step by step here. So let's start with book title. But we're gonna get an error message somewhere here. But somebody tell me what is wrong here. There's something wrong here. That's gonna give me an error message. The way here. Somewhere here is gonna give me an error message. But let's go on. We're going to see together. So we're gonna print out book. So the book will be book dot title. Okay, the title. I should put title here. So you have a title, and then I have book dot title. Is okay. Let's see. Let me show everything is okay. Here it's not closed. Wait, there's something wrong here. Okay, so yeah. So now let's see our error message. There's something is wrong here. Yeah. But we're just gonna run this code. Yes, correct. Thank you, Rudolph. So we have to convert it to string. So we have another title. Okay, this is an error here, title. So okay, we convert everything to string. That's why we had to use a function. We don't have to repeat this over and over again. But and here as well. So let me just copy and paste. Come on. Copy and paste. Paste it here. Paste it here. And there. So, okay, let's hope there's no other errors. Come on, come on, come on. So yes, there's a warning. We did not use any type. You didn't use author and quantity. So it's just a warning to tell us that you didn't use this field. It's never read. So yeah, as expected, we search for the key 365, and here's 365, and then we look for the title, and the title is car. So, and now if we change it to 875, and then we look for it, we'll expect 875, of course. So the title is hello, like as expected. Now let's put 675. What's going to happen if I run the code? What's going to happen? Yes, correct. So if there's none, then not found. That's exactly what's happening. And yeah, so here we're looking at any value based on the key. So here we just work with the book title. But remember, we don't just want to print out the book title. We want to print out the book author. We also want to print out the quantity. So how we do that is, can someone tell me, like, how now what do we do now to now print out everything, not just the book title? I want to print out the title. I also want to print out the author, and I also want to print out the quantity. So what changes am I going to make here? Pretty simple. Or someone can just shout it out, can just raise their hand and just say something. Anybody? Going once, going twice. So this is pretty much simple. So it depends on how you wanna. Yes, something like that. Print lane. Yes. This is if you wanna print everything at once. Yeah, but let's try Mohammed example. Let's try Mohammed example and see what's gonna be shown. Okay, so Mohammed says we printed that, and we're gonna print out that. So let's see. And let's go up. Nope, it's not working. What we can do is we print out book title, change the keys, oh yes. Correct. Okay. So now I just want to be a bit naughty. Wanna just check something. I want to check something out here. Save it here. Yeah, thank you, Mohammed and Rudolph. So here we have a problem because we did not use this derive debug, then we're having an error. So this is needed for us to be able to display the whole struct. So yeah, so this that's correct. So this display the whole struct, and we can also customize the way we want it to look like. So instead of printing it to show it this way, we can maybe just display the author and the quantity, or you don't want the word title to be there. You don't want the author title. You don't want the author name to be there. So it's up to you to customize how you want it to look. So now we're going to the last step. Now we want to display everything that is in the book. So what do we use when it comes to going through a list? Like if you want to go through a list by every item, like one by one. So that what do we use to do that? You want to go through a list one by one. For example, you're going to the first index, your second. Yes, thank you, Mohammed. You use a for loop to do that. So now we want to go through the whole list of what we've inserted in the collection in collections. So we're gonna loop. I'm gonna use a for loop. There's going to be 4. We want to. This is the keys that we're going to be using, and we're going to for ISBN and book in. So remember here we have to borrow inventory. So the Rust is very strict. We can't just I mean we have to borrow this collection. We cannot say for ISBN or book or whatever, because here we're gonna be using 2 values. The ISBN, using the ISBN, which is this, and then the book, which is this. So we're going through these 2, but we cannot put collections here because remember, Rust is very strict. So you borrow collections, and we're now going to go through every keys and every book. So what time is it? So we're just going to print out we want to print out what's gonna be the ISBN. Oh, sorry. So it's going to be the ISBN, and then the second value is going to be the title, and the last value is going to be the author. Sorry. So I'm just gonna let it this way. So we displaying 3 values. So here, what do I put here? What's the first thing that you're gonna put here? Because we want to display 3 different things. We want to display, let me just be clear. We want to display the ISBN, the book title, and the book author. The ISBN, the book title, and the book author. So what do I do to display that? What do I type in? I want the ISBN, the book title, book author. Thank you. Thank you, Rudolph. Correct. So we're gonna take the ISBN, the book title, and finally the book author. And yeah, so let's hope there's no errors. Everything looks good here. Okay. But I feel like something you're right. Book title, book author. Come on. Hurry up. Just taking a while to. Oh yeah, so we're looking at the. You just have to ignore. You have to ignore what we printed before. So what? So let's just remove this. Now let me just leave it. So we're just gonna ignore because this is just lookup for a book that we used. So at the bottom, we can see springing out everything that we wanted to print out. So it works as expected. So any questions? Any questions? Because we're going to, I'm gonna give you a challenge based on that. So does everyone understand? What time is it? Okay, we have 5 minutes left. So now I'm going to share this code, but I'm gonna make it a little bit more prettier than this one. And what I'm gonna do is, okay, I wanna show you something. For those who I didn't show, let me go to GitHub. Let me just here. This is my GitHub account. So you should also register, make your own GitHub account. And this is the platform that you can use to keep track of all your code. You can even look at the YouTube tutorial to learn how to use it. So once you have a GitHub account, you can create a gist. Like when I give you something to do at home, you just go here and then you select your gist. And once you're there, so this was like an example I showed last week. So once you're here, you create a new gist. Create a new gist. And you can put your code here, whatever code that you want to put. And then you put the name. So let's say test1.rs, because now we're using Rust. So remember the file extension is .rs. And then you create the gist. So once you create your gist, you can share it. Just copy it and then share it to me. So let's go back here. So I'm going to update this lesson with the code for this. So I'm gonna do two versions of the code. So one version of the code is the one that we did, and then the other version of the code will be with functions. So instead of adding the way we did in the main function, there's going to be functions that have been created to add book, a function to look up books, and a function to list all books. So I want you to look at it and play around with it, because your challenge will be to write another function to sell books. So whenever you use that function, the book quantity of a specific book should decrease. So this is going to be a little bit advanced. So you're going to have to do some research. And there's also write another function to check if the books are low stock. So this is up to you what you define by low. So it can be if your books are lower than 5, then it must display that low stock. If you put a specific book on that, if you use this function for that specific book, then it must display low or not low, whatever. Anything, just be creative, and that's it. And for the final, we're going to learn struct, methods, and organizing code. That's what we're going to be doing next week. And then we jump into Soroban, smart contract. But if you have any question, you can ask. Okay, guys, I'm a bit concerned. No one is talking. And please do this assignment. And you can ask me any question during the week. Whenever I have time, I'm going to respond, because the aim of this thing is for you to learn. So while you're learning, you're going to struggle. It's not going to be easy. And you learn to code through struggling, and not just watching someone coding or watching me coding. So this is just 20% of everything. The 80% will be you being on your laptop and actually coding and getting stuck. That's where the real learning starts, when you get stuck, when you struggle. So don't feel bad when you get overwhelmed. Don't feel bad when things get difficult, because it's through difficulties that you are actually learning. Compiler errors. So can you expand on that? Rudolph, can you expand? I mean, general gains. Okay. Yeah, true that. Sometimes you might even make a simple, stupid mistake, and you get stuck on that simple mistake for hours and hours and hours, and only to find out that, oh, I had a comma that was missing. But Rust actually helps you a lot, so you kind of know where you go wrong after you compile, which is a good thing. But back in the days, it was not the case with other programming languages. When you stuck for hours. And can we use ChatGPT? Yeah, you can. You can use ChatGPT, but don't over rely on it. And I'll suggest using ChatGPT for learning, not for finding solutions. Like if you don't understand a concept, then you use ChatGPT to better understand that concept. And you can even ask ChatGPT to give you questions for you to work through to understand that concept. So yeah, use it to learn, and you'll be sorted. Yeah, we're done for today. So next week is when our final sprint in Rust, and we're gonna start using Rust to build smart contract. Thank you for being here tonight, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of the week and the weekend. And don't forget, don't be shy. You can contact me anytime if you're stuck, and I'll be glad to assist you. Thank you so much. Good night.